All right, y'all. It's the time of the day that you've been waiting for. It is the one show on air that will take you from the boardroom to the bedroom, from politics to the pulpit, and everything in between with your favorite friends. You are about to join the crew for Fresh Fire as we do what we do all together. Tune in.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the crew. Hey, we gotta stop. We gotta stop, because not only is Marcia
all rise,
but she is y'all. If y'all are listening to the show, I need y'all right now to immediately get off listening to the radio and check out how Sia's looking today. She is glammed up, y'all. She got the hair did, got the makeup on, got the stick lip.
No, she did cross over arms, did she?
both of them.
I mean, Sia came to play today. She ain't messing around.
Sia had to work today.
Oh, is that what it was? Oh, okay.
Yes.
Well,
Hello.
it's good to see you, Sia. How you doing?
I am done with session. That is how I am. And so I'm looking forward to the summer, but I'm so glad to be here with y'all.
Yeah, and by the way, we're glad that you're here because this is the second to the last show of the season. Hard to believe season 16 is almost done.
Crazy.
But that's where we are. And this is the second to the last show. Shout out to everybody that's here today. Jason's not with us. He's taking care of a family situation. So Jay, we miss you, man. But everybody else is here. And Sia, just kind of to catch you up, you know, we've been talking like this was the barbershop, right? You know, when the men in the barbershop, we get to say stuff that we really want to say. But then Sia, your compadre decided to crash the barbershop.
Hey, sis.
She decided to crash the barbershop. And then Ton told us that when women come into the barbershop, we ought to stand down. So we had to be a little bit more respectful. Now, Ray, I don't know what you call today because you got two women now in the barbershop. So are we still in the bar? Are we outside? Where we at right now?
Like you said last week, he gave Alvian the key to come in the back door. Now next thing you know, here comes Sia in the front door. I don't know where we at. This might be the nail shop today. I don't know where we got.
Yeah, what do we call this, Tom? This can't be the barbershop. What is this, Tom?
Is when the ladies come in, sometimes they bring food, y'all.
That's right.
They
bring things. That's real. That's real.
And let's be honest, some of us need to shape up too. So let's not pretend that some of us don't come into the shop. We do.
Y'all do, but not y'all two. Y'all ain't getting no shape up in
in the back a little bit.
You get a little taper. Get a little taper in the back.
A little bit.
You get it faded down. Is that what
I bring my baby into the barbershop.
Right. That's what women normally bring their sons to the barbershop. That's what normally happens, right?
That should count. Yep.
All right. So y'all are here. And for those of you who haven't been listening to the show, the last two shows have been straight fire because we've been having some honest dialogue as Alvian has come into the room. So Al, set it up. Gotta tell us where we've been and where we're going today.
Okay. So the last conversation we had, and Kevin is right, y'all. You got to go on to Facebook if you missed it. You got to check it out on our social media platforms. Check that stuff out. All right. But we decided we were going to have just that raw conversation that takes place in the barbershop. Right. And we all have discussions with folks that, you know, if given the opportunity, we really like to just ask the question flat out and see if folks will be honest about that. So we decided, you know, we're going to have a little segment in the barbershop called Asking for a Friend. So just on behalf of whoever we may know who might want said information or perspective, we're going to have that discussion. And so in our first conversation, when we were just asking for a friend, of course, we're trying to find out, are there any scenarios in which it's appropriate for husbands, partners, to be lying to their significant other? Are there any that are okay? And according to the men, just in man code, because of course none of these men lie to their wives, right? But they were sharing information from some friends out there, you know, that there are probably about 4 things that men typically will, or more commonly, will lie about. And so those 4 things included weight, money, emotions, and sex. And in our first conversation, we were so, that physical component turned into such a large conversation and all of the layers associated with that. And we started to drift into some of the emotional pieces and talked about some of the things that men wished that they heard more often from their women. And that happened in the second show. And on the list of things that men wished they would hear more often from their women was, I believe in you, I trust you, you are my world, I appreciate you, well done, baby, and you did that thing. So if given the scenario of being able to, program your woman to say the thing that makes you feel like a whole man, those were the most common things that were shared amongst us. So we're going to pick up from where we left off in the conversation about further into the weeds as we talk about some of these lies. Let's have a little conversation. And Kevin, I'm going to kick it off with you, okay? Because one of the things that you said very clearly is men lie a lot when it comes to sex. What do you mean?
So let's preface this statement here. Are you saying when men are talking amongst themselves, or when we're talking to you as women?
Give us both.
So men definitely lie when they talk amongst themselves. Let's just establish that fact. Right? I don't think anybody up here disagrees with that. Ray, what you think? Todd, you agree with me? Most guys tend to put a little yeast in it.
Yeah.
Right. And so, that's a code thing, that's a manhood thing. I don't know if that's a God thing, let me just say that, but that is a culture thing that men do. Now, when it comes to women, though, let's get a little dicey. Because I think it largely, again, depends on communication styles and patterns. How safe is the space to be able to share how a man may feel with regards to intimacy and sex, and in some cases, preferences. Now, let me be clear, it works both ways, because I know there's some women too who want to feel like they want to tell their men certain things, and maybe the men are not as receptive to the feedback. So we acknowledge that it works both ways. But fellas, y'all help me on this one. I do believe that sitting down and having conversations about sexual preferences and just stuff like that can sometimes, in some cases, be challenging. What do y'all say?
So let me echo you on the men talking to men. We are groomed, so to speak, to exaggerate certain aspects of sexual prowess and so forth growing up. So like you can be 13, for like in the hood, you could be 13 years old talking about you hitting that. And it's like you don't even know what hitting that is. But I'm just saying, Ray, don't put your head down. You know I ain't lying. And so you can be talking about those things. It's like they don't even know what they're referencing. But this generation, and I'll even say the generation before, are getting younger and younger, and they're getting more and more experience. And a lot of times that is birthed too out of having experienced trauma or seen trauma, and now they're playing out what their victimization looked like. They don't talk about that part. They don't talk about that part. And so let's just be clear about that. But in reference to in your relationship, it really is an issue of communication, and is how well the two of you communicate, how intimate you are going to be in that communication, how transparent you are going to be in that communication. But I won't necessarily say that is a subject that, unlike any other subject, that is not that goes across the spectrum. I really believe it's about communication. How well you guys communicate. If you can communicate about sex, you can communicate about sex. I think you can communicate about sex much quicker and much better than you can communicate about emotions. Let's go there. Because here's the thing. You're raised to know that sex is a part of marriage and relationship. We're not raised to be communicators as men.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I know.
I agree with that, Todd. It is harder for men to talk about emotions, but let's establish something here, Alvin and Marcia. I want
because when we're talking about lying, because we're talking about lying, that's why.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Lying, because it's easier to it's easier to share if you think you ain't getting enough, much quicker than it is easier to share that you hurt my feelings or you offended me about something. I think it's easier.
Mm.
I think it's a relationship, but I think it's easier.
Oh, I would agree with you in terms of the frequency in which those conversations actually happen, because one feels far more vulnerable than the other. You know,
Oh, yeah.
like in sexuality, unfortunately, is not considered a vulnerable subject for men because, as you said previously, it's something that you guys lie about often. You guys have conversations about often, and we know that y'all lie about it often. You know how we know? Listen to an R&B song. Ain't nobody having sex all night long. Shut up. That is not true. So who we've seen you in these. We've seen you in these videos. Your knees ain't doing nothing all night long. So what are you talking about? But it is just, it's so pervasive that our music is saturated with sexual lies on both ends at this point now. You know, like we women have picked this thing up too. Now we out here spelling words that didn't exist, starting with what, ending with P, you know, like that just, you know, like it's just all out there now. We just gonna pretend what things are. So we know that lying gets folks somewhere in terms of the way that they want to see themselves, or at least the way they want to be perceived. And so perception is such a big thing for men because of that ego factor, you know, like that somebody thinks of you as strong, somebody thinks of you as capable, somebody thinks of you as being able to have whatever woman you want for as long as you want and everything else. And so that's inbred in your culture. So we know that that's a thing that you guys navigate. My question though is that when we're just honest about this stuff, really honest about this stuff, what is it that most men are lying about from a sexual perspective? Like, what are you guys typically lying about? Especially not you guys here, but the friends y'all know.
Yeah,
what are they lying about?
I'm glad you clarified the other people, not us.
The men y'all know.
So I don't know, Al, if it's so much lying as in some cases it is men sometimes not feeling they can be completely honest.
Okay, wait. Let me pause you there. So, are we counting omission as lie? So is it
absolutely
lie by omission?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because I think that counts.
Okay. So in a case where a man might be with a woman who, let's say, she's more conservative sexual.
Okay.
But he loves her.
Right.
But he's been in previous situations. This is how the enemy gets you, Tom, because when you've been in previous situations, now you've been exposed.
Exposed. That Pandora.
Or you've been watching some stuff.
Been watching stuff, right? And now you think that she gonna be able to do what you've been watching.
Or you experienced. Yeah. Right.
Correct. Right. But she ain't that kind of girl.
No, she's like missionary, thanks.
Well, I mean, it could be that. It could be how he views her too. Mm-hmm. Because sometimes a man will view somebody that he really loves differently than how he might view a call he gonna make in the middle.
Right. Right.
You understand?
Yeah.
Right? So sometimes in serious relationships, it could be that men wrestle with being honest about how they really feel, understanding that maybe who he has isn't what he's been exposed to. And that could also, again, work both ways, let me add.
But here's my thing with that, Kevin. The thing with that is, in serious relationships, typically, you will know what you got, hopefully, before you've gotten to that bedroom level. In serious relationships, I ain't talking about you hitting it and quitting it. So let me just make it clear. I'm talking about in serious relationships where you're trying to be in a long-term relationship. you should have at least some clue as to what you got. If you don't have some clue, that's because look, my brother and I was having this conversation once before. He said, you know what? If I had to go back and look at some of the relationships I had prior to marriage, he said, sex complicated things because I wasn't able to now think rationally
Mm-hmm.
some of the decisions and the judgment and
Yeah.
choices that I made because sex complicates things. Sex clouds your thinking because now I'm focused more on the physicality of the relationship versus the entire whole relationship. And so prior to the bedroom, before sex is introduced, if you are in a long-term relationship, she and he, so because this is both ways, she and he then drop some hints about what they like and what they don't like. Now, whether you've been paying attention, that's on you, but they didn't drop some hints.
Well, see that I think Anton presumes that people are having any real meaningful conversation
Right.
before they're having sex, right? And
Right.
then it also presumes that there's some length of time between when they met and when they're having sex. Because this universe we're operating in, and I'm not even talking about just a single generation, because all y'all freaks out here in these streets. So like it is
Nasty.
not
Don't put us in there. Don't
Just
put us in there.
nasty.
Don't put us in there.
okay. And I'm just talking multi-generationally. Like,
So let's make it clear. Let's make it clear.
the retirement homes got
Nasty.
ready
Right.
like wildfire.
It's killing
Blue
me.
pill,
It's
that
killing
blue
me.
pill messed everybody up.
However, I am hoping that there's
Uh-huh.
still a remnant out there that is for real, trying to do it biblically.
You're talking about the 10%. Okay, like the 10%.
Let me just say this too about the church, because this is a good place to put this, Ray. Because
Please,
let's just be
please.
honest.
Look at Ray trying to
Even the church doesn't celebrate celibacy.
Right.
Let's just be
Say it.
honest here.
Right.
tell the whole truth.
You get people in the church. I had a couple that
When you say the church, are you saying the body of Christ? Is that what you're saying when you say the church?
How y'all act in the
body of
What
Christ.
he means is the participants in the institution.
Because I'm telling you, when
You're looking at 40 years of pastoral ministry between the two of us, and we can tell you, like Sia said, it's nasty.
No. I get that. No, I do get
The
that.
stuff we've seen in our offices.
I get that, but I don't
I
want
hope
you
y'all
guys
ain't
to
seen
say.
feet.
But
That is your office.
But I hope that y'all are not saying this and giving the impression that they're not people who are trying to live right.
no, Tom, I'm not saying that.
That's not what
Okay,
I'm saying.
because I'm gonna tell you that was something when I came up in CRC. That was something that was hard pressed, and that was something that they were big on accountability in your relationships. They were big on accountability as a single and the whole nine. And we took that serious. And so we were like,
Time. Is that happening today?
I was going to say the same thing.
I cannot name a space. I cannot name a space
Yes.
where that is the predominant message that the youth are hearing.
oh, no. Yes. They're talking about holiness of hell. But the reality of it is you're still a choice, whether you choose to do it or not.
Understood. But I just, you know, and this kind of gets back to the hypocrisy. If you in the news because you have 3 baby mamas and you preaching to me about celibacy, like that hypocrisy. But no, wait, before
But that's that pastor though. That's why I want to make sure we are balancing our conversation, because that's why you're gonna get some pushback on me on this. Because
we'll give you that 10%, but it's not the majority.
I don't know. Here's the thing. I could care less what percentage it is, because I'm not going around counting. Are you hoeing? Are you hoeing? Are you being good? I'm not doing that. I'm serious, y'all. I'm serious.
I know you are.
I'm serious about this one, because I want to make sure we are not putting out there a projection or putting out there a perception that this is everybody or this is the majority of everybody, because we can't speak for the majority and we can't speak on who's doing it and who's not doing it. We don't know that. All I can tell you is this: you got to work out your own soul salvation. That's between you, God, and the Holy Spirit. However, there are plenty of churches out there who the leader is living right. We got 2 examples right here.
That's not what we're talking about, Tom.
That's not at all.
Hold on, let me finish. Just let me finish my thought. We got 2 examples of it right here, as far as pastors who are preaching that word. Whether you receive that word, whether you are allowed to yourself to be discipled to walk that word out, that's on that individual. But you can't put what you're seeing always portrayed on social media or always put out there in public as that is the norm. It may be common.
But we can't act like it's different people. The people on social media talking about hoeing be some of the same people in your pews.
But there's a whole lot of people who don't do social media. Like for me, I don't.
No, I'm not saying that they don't exist.
You can't. What I'm not going to do is I'm not going to say that's everybody. I'm just not going to do that.
Nobody said it was
Nobody said it's everybody.
Y'all was kind of putting it out there like
nobody's saying it is. It's just that there's a lot.
It's never all of them.
But guess what? There's a lot of people doing right too. So you can't say, because like, for instance, I'll give you quite a good example. The news talks about nothing but crime. First thing, you turn on every news channel, all they're talking about is shooting, killings, and wrongdoings, and people getting charged. Now, have any one of y'all on this show killed somebody, shot somebody? Now, you may have felt like doing it, but you haven't done it. So you can't just put that on everybody. That's the point I'm trying to make.
Can I point out that Mr. Shank 'em Up is the one now trying to say that humanity is all of a sudden good.
When it comes to holiness,
I've been gone for too long.
And we know in time, please know.
Ray, I tell them when it comes to holiness,
he's a different person when it comes to standards.
We all know.
I just want to ask my question though.
That is true.
I do want to ask my question. And I think that the same time, we've said it 12 times. When we say dudes be lying, we're not talking about y'all. When we say
I'm going to be honest.
Wait, you had your turn.
Okay.
So just in the same way, when we say the church, we are never saying every single Christian and every single church. There's always a pastor that's doing it right. There's always people that are doing it right. But predominantly, even within Christian spaces that I traverse, the single people are talking about sex. The single people are either talking about sex that they had, even if they have changed their life now. But I do not find a ton of rooms of any age where people have been virgins up until marriage, having conversations about relationships. So I understand what you're saying. I'm just saying in the reality of where single people are dwelling, it is not a lot of holiness speak. And I will also say, I do not attend a holiness tradition. But the majority of the conversations where dudes be lying and women be lying, we're not talking about saving ourselves for marriage. It is people lying, like y'all said, people lying about having had sex with more people than has actually happened, what happened when they actually had sex, all of that. So that was the point I was trying to make. Not that it doesn't exist, but that is not the predominant conversation that I'm finding within single people around my age group. But I do have a question for real. Mm-hmm. If all of y'all...
Before you ask that question, though, I got pushback on that statement. Because you can't make a statement as broad as that and say it's the predominant. That's the part I have an issue with.
I said in the places where I have been, Tom, that is the true statement.
But here's the thing. That's where you going. But
that's what I just
where you may be going may not be where I may go.
But and that's what I said.
It's not who I'm hanging out with.
But that's what I said. I just said it twice. I'm not happiness and I don't be in your room.
This is the barbershop. This ain't the beauty parlor. And then so that's the part I'm making. You making a statement and a judgment about
so let me be very clear.
Don't bring the nail salon energy. Hold on,
the majority of barbershops are not talking about saving themselves for marriage.
But that's where you go. That's where you go, because
let me say this.
Wait. So how about we have the two pastors talk about what it is that they've been seeing in their congregations for God knows how long on this subject.
I'll go first.
To come back to what you're saying, Sia, because I think they're going to say what you're saying. But go ahead.
I'll go first. So to the point, Tom is absolutely right when he talks about who he is when it comes to standards of holiness versus other issues. He's no nonsense, straight up and down. I know him over 25 years, so we got that. So now, however time, what I think what Kevin and I can tell you is that over the progression of our ministries, if we went back to the time when we were the youth guys, which would put us in our mid to late 20s, from there to where we are now in our 50s, when we became the senior guys, we have seen this overarching progression of a decline in regards to those who hold to those standards of holiness versus those who decide to let those standards go. And we have seen an overwhelmingly increase of pervasive, provocative perversity. I'll use those 3 P's within our own churches, which becomes reflective of what's happening in larger society.
I don't disagree with that.
Of those who would call themselves Bible believing. I even go here and put my own people on the table, spirit filled, tongue talking, speaking Christians. Now, these are people who believe the inerrancy, immutability, and the inerrancy, immutability, and inspirational writ of the holy text of Scripture. These are the people, 25, 30 to 40. They're not on this side. I got to be in agreement with Sia. They're not holding to what you and I would hold to as a standard. So we've seen this progression so much to the point. I'll let Kevin speak to this. He went 6 to 8. I remember this vividly. He went 6 to 8 weeks, probably if not more so, on the issue of sexuality in Ivy because so much was growing on among his age group between 20 and 35.
Now stop right there.
That was 10 years ago.
Now stop right there. Right? That alone proves the point that I'm trying to make, which is this. It comes down to, it's going to be the person's choice as to what they do. What I'm trying to keep the conversation from going is saying that we can paint a broad brush across Christianity as a whole. That's the point I'm making. Because Ray, let's keep it real. You got mothers that's being hoes in the church. And so, you know, they in the 70s and they horn. So, I mean, but again, it comes down to a choice. And then here you have Pastor Swan going, as you say, 6 weeks preaching on holiness and preaching on sexuality. Now, at the end of the day, it's up to the individual to receive that, not receive that, walk that out, not walk it out, be disciple, decide not to be disciple. That's fine. But what you can't convince me is that God said he was going to have a remnant. And he said that he's going to have people that's going to walk in holiness. What you're not going to convince me is that there are not people that's in the body of Christ. Forget the church, the building. I'm talking about the church, the people, that there's not a great number of them, just like there's a whole bunch of people horn. You ain't gonna tell me there's a great number of individuals who are trying to live right before God. I just don't, I'm not gonna believe that.
I would tell you that number,
for me to believe that,
I would tell you that number is smaller than what you think it is as a remnant. I would tell you that number is smaller than what the number is, because guess what? That's none of my business. That's the point I'm trying to make. None of us can paint that brush and say the number is this big or that big or that big, because we don't know. We have not done any data. I will refer you to the Pew Research Center. I will refer you to the Southern Baptist Coalition. I would refer you to the NEA, National Evangelical Association. I would refer you to the Acton Institute, and I would refer you to, I got one more, but did I miss one, Kev? Those are all the ones that we normally research with. Because guess what? If I'm honing around, I'm going to go and I'm going to take those numbers are not what you think they are. I'm just telling you. From all of them. That's what I'm going to do. If I'm
so Todd, so we can we all agree with you. Nobody up here is disagreeing with anything you say.
No.
We must have hit a nerve or something, man. I don't know what happened.
This is a nerve for Small.
We hit a nerve with you.
This point is a nerve. Can I tell you why it's a nerve? Because I do a lot of mentoring, and I know there are some brothers, and I know there are some
sisters. Of course there are, Tom. No one's disputing that.
Portrayed, but that's not the way it was being portrayed. That was not the way it was being portrayed when y'all went for it. Y'all made it seem like it was just beyond rampant, and that if they are trying to live holy, then they are in a very
it's a cesspool out here, Tom. It's a cesspool, man. It's a cesspool out here in the church.
About it. Guess what?
Come on, listen.
I'm the one that called the hoes in the pulpit out. So I know it's a cesspool. I prosecute them. So I know y'all hoes. But the reality of it,
Tom, if you take that example, when you say there's some hoes in the pulpit, you are not saying that every pastor is a hoe. You are calling out.
I do. When I say it, look, when I say it, they look at me. Look at Kevin right now looking at me. When I say it,
I just want to ask my question.
right
I just
when
want to ask my question.
Sia, ask your question, Sia.
I
Okay.
just want to ask
And I
real
will
quick.
reiterate that I was reporting back from what I have seen and heard in the rooms I have been in. So I'm bringing that as to my question.
Yes, go
If
ahead.
y'all are saying that dudes be lying when you're talking to each other, what do you gain from it if you know that conversation is a whole bunch of lies? Like, what are you taking away from it if we're saying that when y'all are together, y'all be omitting stuff, not telling the whole truth, exaggerating? Like, what do you get from it?
Ego.
It's ego and image.
It's ego.
What? I want specifics because you can't just say, "Oh, I'm gonna beat my chest," and then tell me what you get
Listen,
from it.
culture is set up, as you just said, it's sexually based. Who set that culture up? Men did.
Men.
Right? So there's no way that men can walk around and have conversations and not be a part of that kind of, that's an image thing, right? For a lot of men to not be sexually promiscuous, to not be doing all of that is considered to be in some cases less than a man. Right. And to the point of what Ton is saying, is starting younger, but even what Jason has said before, that is starting at 5 years old.
Right.
Where now these images of manhood for 5-year-olds is to be talking and thinking and living sexually.
Yeah.
That's where we are, right? Which is, Ton, why we're saying that what we see now in society is a progression of sex. That doesn't mean that there's not a remnant. It doesn't mean that there are not some who are very committed to walking out and honoring their bodies as the Spirit has enabled them to do. Nobody's saying that.
Well, that's how I came across.
But let me just say this. I will say this to you. What I will say, in my experience, celibacy has not been valued even amongst believers.
Correct.
And I will say that you got people, when we've had situations sometimes, I've been in churches where a couple will stand up and we'll say, this couple is honoring the Lord in how they are doing their engagement and then, you know, whatever their process is before marriage. And you get people in the church that will say, Don't you know they're supposed to try it before you buy it? Don't you know you're supposed to test drive it? Don't you know all that? What in the world is going on? This is
what do you do when they do that?
Listen, and to the point.
No, what do you do when they do that?
I don't hear it in real time, but you know that these things are being said.
Because my thing is, that's the fact that you are putting them out there like that and saying this is honorable. To me, that speaks volume concerning the leadership. Because
yes, and what I'm saying is
biblical, and this is something that we should be celebrating. It shouldn't be something where we look at it and be like, you are there's something wrong with you because you're trying to walk out biblical principles. I mean, here's the thing, I guess I'm gonna tell you why I'm so hardcore. Because when I was in the world, I was in the world. Come on. I was in the world and the world was in me. And so that's right, Sia. Yeah. BC days, I was in the world. But when I came to Christ, I made a decision. Yeah. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. I'm not going to play with this. That's why when people get on my last reserve nerve and I want to cuss them out.
Hey man, back up from the screen first of all.
Your whole forehead.
He is not playing on that.
Get on my last nerve. Yeah. Can you back up, please? Give us 5 feet. Arms distance, man.
I need you to hear that. Okay?
But what I need you to hear, Todd, is like you said all season to you. Everybody ain't like you. Everybody ain't like you.
That's
right?
why I
so listen,
you got to work out your own soul.
Yes, and this is why you still got sexual issues in the church.
Well, Sia got another question, guys.
Go ahead, Sia.
So something y'all said before, I can't remember, but I think y'all shared this sentiment, right? When y'all were talking about, we'll be honest if we feel safe. Can you say for our benefit, for women's benefit, what does it take for you to feel safe, to be honest? Because if y'all are making choices and you're choosing to lie, A lot of folks blame it on, well, I didn't feel safe, but that's the choice, right, Tom? That's the choice. You still lied. What could happen, or what could women do to make it feel safer, to be transparent, to be open, and to be honest?
What, for the man or for the woman?
For the man.
What can women do to
Okay.
help men feel safe to tell the truth?
So we had part of this conversation before, and I said,
I'm sorry.
when a man feels like he can open up for the first time,
Okay,
and he gets a reaction that is not one that he feels like would be approving of him sharing how he really feels, then that's his cue. Most likely, he's not gonna go that route again. And this kind of ties into, what Alvin was saying earlier about the lying piece, right? Because if you ask me how I think you look in this dress, and I think you look horrible, but I already know, based on me telling you the truth before, how it went sideways, then probably I'm going to give you an answer that has some truth in it, but it ain't going to be as truthful maybe as I want to be, because I just want peace.
Did y'all talk about tact? How you say it, the tone, how it's delivered? Did y'all talk about that part either?
Well, see, even in that, see, part of that is, if you want me to be honest, there has to be a culture of honesty. And part of that culture of honesty is, it ain't always going to come out the way you want it to, but it's still the truth. Now, that works both ways, right? Like, you might say something, it might come out wrong. It's not that you're lying. I got to process that, right? And I think this is where sometimes relationships go sideways, because we're more concerned about how it comes out. Now, keep in mind, I'm in agreement with you. As the relationship evolves, you should understand your partner better to know how and when to communicate sensitive things. However, if I'm sharing something and let's say I'm passionate about it and it comes out, it might not come out the way you want, but am I lying?
But there is a difference. I don't think that being mean and being honest always have to go hand in hand, right?
I agree.
Okay.
But that's subjective.
No, that's what I just wanted to say.
No, but that's subjective.
I was going to say that
because me saying the
absolutely.
saying the truth to you taking it as I'm being hurtful. I'm just telling you how I feel.
Right. Oh no, absolutely. And also hearing, because when we do get to the beauty shop and we talk about how the women might want to hear some things, sometimes it really is about being able, do you want to be right or do you want to be heard? Are we having a conversation or do you just want to drop bombs? You can have honesty in both situations.
But do you really want me to be honest? And I think that's where we were starting this, like,
okay,
not you, Sia, but
yeah. No,
can I tell you, look, you done put on some pounds. Can I tell you there's some things that I would prefer you do sexually that maybe it ain't comfortable for you, right? Can we have that kind of conversation, or is it that we just got to stay in this confined space and it just stay there? And a lot of men have to make those decisions.
Okay. And to the point of that, Sia, most men are not trained or have not had the development about tone, tact, and timeliness.
Women either.
Most of us, we're just straightforward. We don't care nothing about tone, tact, and timeliness. If you ask us, we're gonna give it to you just like as we would if we were on the playground, in the locker room. And I will say that is something that men have to work on in terms of a continuum. All of us need that. And I think being married for some time, it helps us to develop, because if we just say things in the way that we would if we were talking to another dude, you can't talk to men. Listen to me. You can't talk to your wife like you're talking to another dude. And I'll offer this, Alvin, as another question. Sometimes the omission part, I want to talk about that. The omission of what we don't say is because we are trying to get paid later on that night. So there's some things that we leave out that we don't say because we know what her response is going to be like, and it's Tuesday. And I ain't trying to mess up nothing on my Tuesday, because Tuesday night I get paid.
But Ray,
we done seen the movie before. That's what.
Right.
It's not something sexual that you're talking about. It could be something else that you're talking about. It's going to elicit that response, but the response is going to be, or not the response, but the conversation is going to be a certain way, because now you're talking about a sexual response. So we're talking about lying about sexual things, period. And I think
so
the topic of that, because the truth of the matter is, based upon everybody's response, it seems like the lies, for the most part, takes place among men to men versus in the relationship. The omission may take place in the relationship, but the outright lying, it appears, is more common outside of the relationship.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mhm,
Yeah,
mhm.
I'd agree. Yeah.
So
Interesting.
is it ever, just asking for a friend, is it ever appropriate for a woman to be like, you know what, you want to act like that? There will be no cookies for you tonight.
No.
Is
Next question.
there ever a legit, so from you, so your perspective, men across the universe, that under no circumstances should a woman, as in spouse, committed long-term relationship, for those who don't believe in marriage, because we have people who are listening to us who don't, who don't participate in marriage but want a long-term partner. But for the sake of this conversation, we'll say life partners and spouses. Are you saying that there is no scenario in which a woman should choose or be able to put up a no sign?
Because we gave you the answer. We gave you the answer.
Okay, can I ask a question?
We gave you the answer. The reality of it is that's sexual warfare. And if you play big boy games, you're gonna get big boy consequences. And so you do that. There's always, let me tell you something about married men in particular. There is, since we're gonna talk about the Sodom and Gomorrah aspects of a life, or whatever y'all want to call it, if I can name it. But whatever. There is a demographic of women who are more attracted to men who are in committed relationships.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
Yes.
100%.
So what you say to,
and they go to church too.
They go to church too, and they sit on the front row.
Front row, crossing and uncrossing their legs on the front. Come on,
please say it. Sit on the front row. Since we're gonna talk about it, let's talk about the church. No, Ray, cut your camera back on.
Weren't you just the same one 5 minutes ago going off on
same one?
No, because
same
talking about
because everybody
about Willis.
He's balanced. He's balanced.
I'm balanced. No, I am balanced. I know it exists. Don't get me wrong. I know it exists. What I won't do is have a broad paintbrush concerning the body of Christ. There's a difference.
So now you're back on the side of the hoeing. Okay, go ahead.
No. It's just when you talk about the body of Christ, that is to me different than a building. Because let me tell you something about, can we break that down real quick? In the building, it's a hospital. And you got everything that's in that hospital. Everything, even if they're saved, you got everything. They done everything. It should be that way if it's a true hospital. So you're gonna have people who would do things and who would even try to tell individuals who are trying to live right in that house. And there's plenty of opportunities and times where I've seen it, and there have been times where I've even experienced those things. And I'm telling you right now, it happens in the house. But the body of Christ, that is what I had a problem with, is trying to paint that broad stroke and saying the majority of people are not trying to live holy. I have a problem with that.
We got it.
Okay, all right.
We got it.
So y'all answer is no.
It's no, Al. Keep it moving. It's no.
So here's my question.
Go ahead, see you.
Somebody asked a donkey.
Exactly.
And got into a whole argument. You done told a girl she fat and don't do the things that you want her to do. And then that night you expect her to feel like sexy time is what should happen? How does that work?
I will say that tone, tact, and timeliness is important. See, I'm with you on that point. However, if we do 1 Corinthians 7, men should not withhold from women, women should not withhold from men because of temptations that are around. So I think that's a both and for me. It's a both and.
I just want y'all to know this is what single people are watching, y'all, and just like I'm just supposed to give it up to some dude that just did me dirty. Like it doesn't make sense.
Well, the question you got to ask, and that maybe is for another show, why you with him in the first place if he's talking to you that kind of way?
Hello.
That's a whole.
Y'all just said it was okay. Y'all just said it was okay.
No, we didn't say it was okay.
We didn't say it was okay.
We didn't say it was okay. So let me clarify, Alvin. So you asked about. I don't think there's a scenario where a woman should intentionally withhold sex. Now, we get the fact that if you are hurt,
Okay.
something has happened, of course you're not going to be in the mood in those situations.
Okay.
But when you're talking about a woman who's like, yeah, I'm going to intentionally withhold until I get what I want, or I'm going to do until the outcome swings in my favor, and I'm cutting them off.
Correct.
Until that happens. That's what we're talking
down
about.
the cookie factory.
That's what we're
Until that
talking
dude
about.
right, he ain't get no cookies.
That's what we're talking about.
That's how we can get the revolution.
Correct,
wrapped up real quick, but
you think that's how you gonna get him to move.
Yeah, you ain't lying though. You ain't lying.
We can stop every war.
Every
if we
single
decided
one.
we were shutting it all down. Every war.
We would have all kinds of bills get passed.
And I'm just gonna tell you this: if you shut it down, he gonna shut down, and then you got nothing.
That's
So
true.
so that you
Oh, no, he ain't
want
gonna
if you
shut down.
listen, if
He
you're
gonna
gonna play
lie
that
to you.
card, if you're gonna play the card, then understand the other card that's about to drop on the table too. And then what's gonna happen when he stopped talking to you? What's
I
gonna
was
happen?
talking about en masse. Like if
Huh?
we were to actually
No,
have
this is how it works.
a whole
Because if you come in, you're gonna intentionally withhold the thing that the man typically values the most to prove your point, then that's all I need to know.
All right, now
all
watch
I
this,
need to
Kev.
know
Watch
is
this,
that the
Kev.
thing that the man values the most.
Watch this, Kev. Watch this, Kev. Give
Okay,
the
go ahead.
percentage of give a percentage number of scenarios like that you have seen. I'll give you the percentage number I have seen in our offices.
Man, I've seen a lot of men break down like that. In our office, come to me one-on-one. It was like, yo, I don't understand what's going on. Like, we got married, and let's just be honest, Tom, before the marriage, it was swinging. Everybody happy, right? Stuff jumping off. Now, all of a sudden, you get married. Now, all of a sudden, the tables is turned. Now, all of a sudden, you withholding. You switching it up. Like, and the dude, like, yo, what is going on? Now, again, we can make the point about premarital. We can talk about all that, but the reality is, what he thought he was getting, he ain't get. And now we got a problem.
And y'all feel like it's bait and switch, but let me just share a little news with y'all. Okay. So just a little newscast. One, most of the time when y'all are dating, you are on the campaign. So all that beautiful behavior happened prior to getting married. Okay. Like, so then after she voted, she gets stuck with the governance. All right. And so she's like, I'm over it. Okay.
It is what it is, Al. It is what it is.
So
Terrible analogy.
First of all, that's how that starts. And then the thing that happens is that most women, and this is, let me be clear for all listening audience, for those of you who have listened to Relationship Tuesdays, I'm married to a good man, so I need not hold out on anything, but I don't even stop having sex when I have pneumonia. Okay. We had sex through COVID. Okay. So like, I'm just letting y'all know this is not coming from someone who fundamentally believes in it. I just understand how the stuff happens. Okay. Just for the record. So what typically will happen, because the people I see that came out of y'all offices to come call me are talking about the fact that when I was talking to him about what was going wrong in the relationship, he was not listening. It wasn't until I stopped having sex with him that he finally understood that I am serious about the fact that this thing that you are doing is hurting me, causing problems, is an issue in our relationship. Whatever it was, as long as women are still sleeping with their men, most of you all, not necessarily you on this show, but most men believe that everything's still okay. As long as she'll let me touch her, as long as she'll let me get in her, we're still okay. The minute that door closes, suddenly all the red lights are flashing. We are in trouble. Houston, there's a problem. Clean up on all 7. Call the therapist. We need to fix everything when the cookies stop. So that is part of the reason women do that, is because y'all won't take them seriously before they shut the cookie operation down, because every conversation is leading to no change.
Fair.
But if I stop, now
Fair.
you're paying attention to me.
But I'm telling you,
I didn't say it's a good idea, because with all these trifling chicks out here, let me tell you, if you don't put food out for that dog at home, he eating in the neighbor's yard. And that's what I mean. I understand. I'm just letting you know how this system works, and it's a dangerous system.
But I would add to that, Al. That's a scenario where a woman is hurt, right? And again, it's hard to expect that a woman who's been consistently hurt, which is what you're describing, is gonna want to be intimate with their partner. That's not what I'm saying. I don't think Tanya or Ray is saying that either. We're talking about somebody who's
using it
manipulating
to manipulate an outcome.
Right.
Yes.
I got what you're saying. I got what you're saying. I can accept that.
Yeah,
But
thank you for the clarification.
Do you understand how these things pop up in relationships quite often? And because there's no conversation or clarification as to what's happening and why it's happening, that's how you get that mess all the time around here. And that's inside and out of the church. All right. So here, as we got to kind of bring it to a close because we're running out of time, y'all. I want to ask you all about the emotional thing. What do you think men lie about most where their emotions are concerned? And this we may go into, look at Ray trying to dip out of this. This may go into another conversation. But what do you think men are lying about most, according to your friends?
I don't. Men aren't conditioned to be vulnerable. Let's just put it there, right? So it's not often that men are just used to being in spaces where we openly share how we feel, especially to other men. And I think this is the difference between men and women. Sisters, here's what y'all gonna do. Y'all gonna call the girls. Y'all gonna go out on a Friday night. Y'all gonna meet up at somebody's house. You're gonna have 3 bottles of wine sitting on the table, right? And everybody gonna have some, and y'all gonna talk, and everybody gonna share, and y'all gonna be like, yeah, child, that's what you should do, and all that stuff. Men are on islands. Men are on islands. And it's hard to get men off of the island to get them in a space where they can talk, because we're not conditioned or trained to trust other men with our emotions and our vulnerability.
That is correct.
Absolutely correct. 100%. Men we're hunters by nature, and it is always bravado with us. It's always ego with us. It's always, I'm trying to get ahead. And I don't know, even in our group of boys that we may talk with, we only go but so far, because we never want to see that information come out and a dude try to get one up on you. Just like there are women who are hunters and will go after somebody else's husband, men will do the same thing in regards to somebody else's wife, and you don't want to have to shank nobody, as Tom would say, which is to say, Alvin, if ever a man senses when he shares his vulnerability about his emotions in terms of how he feels, if that comes out of your cousin's mouth, your auntie's mouth, your neighbor's mouth, the kid's mouth, you only got, like Kevin said, you only got one time. And men don't even it takes sometimes years for you to even get that one chance, because men are so closed.
Now, what you will see from a man emotionally 100% of the time is how he responds when he's disrespected.
Oh, Lord, today.
You will see a man react 100%
atomic bomb out
of the time. And I'm talking going 0 to 10. And listen, you want to see a brother go red, you want to see brother punching walls and doing all kinds of crazy stuff, it's because he has felt disrespected. Something triggered him. Just like we had Ton up here for 25 minutes talking about holiness because he felt disrespected. That's what's going on. We done missed half the show because Todd felt disrespected talking about holiness.
No, but what y'all not going to y'all ain't gonna talk about
You got the nerve of us talking about the church. The nerve.
Y'all ain't gonna mess with Todd's holiness in this Jesus. You ain't gonna do it.
Todd didn't feel disrespected.
Todd, you worked too hard on that holiness.
Todd got up in the camp. You ain't gonna talk about the church up in here. Everybody ain't doing that.
To get yourself
the body of Christ.
Right. Who is still saved.
Like that. You ain't gonna talk about the body of Christ like that. I'm just no. I'm riding that body of Christ. I'm riding
Pastor.
And I'm just simply saying to you, you saw it in real time today.
Yes.
When a man feels disrespected about anything, that's when the emotion gonna come out. That's just a fact.
And the thing is that, and women, please hear this, that does not always mean he gets loud.
No.
He can feel disrespected and shut you all the way out.
He can get quiet.
And quite honestly, when he goes silent, it's more of a problem than when he's yelling. Because when he's yelling, he's still telling you how he feels. When he goes silent, he has cut you off. And that right there, baby girl, that's when there is a problem. Okay, like it is when he stops talking to you, oh, it's a problem. And you best believe you better be careful about the best friend he has, the real close friend. Because if he's talking to her, he has already moved his eggs out your basket and he's dropping them into the other basket. Okay, please no. Like it is just don't do it.
I just want to take this time to remind people that therapy is available. There are services, and some of them are free services.
That the doors to the therapy is available are open.
Listen.
But again,
you're wrong for that, Sia. You're wrong for that.
We're talking about the negative aspects of relationships right now. We're not talking about the positive aspects. There are plenty of positive aspects. So I just want to keep that balance. Again, we're talking about the negative. That's the show today. The show is about the negative aspects. So, just keep it balanced.
Because y'all be lying. I'm sorry. I'm just playing.
See? There they go. There they go. I'm
just playing.
Y'all come back next week for the beauty shop. Please come back next week.
Here's the wonderful thing about it is when it comes to being upfront and, for me, my problem is that I'm probably too straight and no chaser. And everybody know me. I tell you, my wife, she calls it BLACK. She don't say black. She say you are being BLACK. That is.
No, Tom, you Old Testament. Grace is in the New Testament. You ain't read past Malachi. That's all it is. You is on fire until you get to Malachi. That's it. You don't know who Matthew is. You don't even know who Matthew is. You don't know who Luke or John is. You ain't even heard of Paul. You just
keep reading.
It gets Romans is my favorite book.
It can't be. It ain't no way. Ain't no way it's your favorite book.
No, it's
your favorite book is Leviticus because it's the law.
That may be my second favorite.
That is your second favorite. That's your number one book. It's Leviticus.
Listen, y'all. It was fun in the barbershop. Okay, we've got some other things we're going to need to talk about when we come back into the barbershop. But to make it fair for all of our listening audience, we're going to let a few of the men come into the salon and they can ask their questions. So y'all don't want to miss our next episode. Okay. Y'all make sure that you tune in as the men sneak into the salon to ask a few questions for a friend.
Yeah, this we only got one more show in the season. Don't miss next week. This is the last one. We got to talk, fellas. Since they in the barbershop, we get to ask questions now.
I'm coming in the front door,
right? And it's money, right?
No, y'all get to ask whatever you want. You get to ask whatever you want. You come in the salon. C and I ready for you. Don't worry about it.
All right. Until next time, be blessed and be a blessing to someone else. Peace.
Okay, I hope you loved it as much as we did. Thank you for joining us for another fire show for the crew. Listen, you can catch us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and any streaming platform that you're using for your podcast. Share with a friend, expand the family. Listen, we're trying to do this thing with all of you as often as we possibly can. We're looking forward to you joining us again for our next show.